Suffolk County is in dire financial straits. Laying at the feet of our Democratic majority is potential bankruptcy due to the county's wasteful spending of your tax dollars. Few of our county's legislators have attempted to break this corruptive political juggernaut. Robert Trotta has been that legislator, fighting against our country's corruption since elected in 2014. It is not often when a legislator has the kind of experience legislator Robert Trotta has. Backing up his take charge approach is a 25-year career as a police officer and detective who was later awarded the 2001 Detective of the Year. Our communities need members like Robert Trotta to stop the wasteful spending and corruption that is chasing Suffolk County to the brink of the water's edge. Too many legislators follow and will not upset the apple cart, nor they don't try to do the right thing for their constituents. And that is where we believe that the corruption begins. Nobody's willing to fight it.
You know, there's a plaque hanging in my office that the FBI gave me, and it said, "Tyranny will thrive when good people do nothing." There's a lot of really good people on the legislature, and I think a lot of what you say is true. They're afraid to do something. They're afraid to stand up because they'll be persecuted or something will be wrong. They're not doing anything wrong, but they're just not doing the right thing. You need to stand up for the citizens. And you know, I'm fortunate. I'm from a very Republican district, and I can afford to say what I need to say.
Well, that's because, what? You're powerful within your district, you can get elected, and they like you there. And
yeah, and I think generally everyone, you know, there are other legislators who do very well in their districts, and I think they're coming around. I think the change is happening. I mean, before we sat down here, we're just learning that probably tomorrow morning the Nassau County Executive is going to be arrested. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's rumors about the Suffolk County District Attorney. There's rumors about the head of public corruption on the cover of Newsday being investigated for public corruption. I mean, this county's got some serious problems.
Is there such a thing as efficiency in government? Because, you know, we look at, I'm just talking about John Q. Public reading the papers, we see so many sloppy things going on, so many things that we would prefer not to see, but there's no organization with the people. There's a disconnect there. It's
staggering, the incompetence and the waste of money that I see at every single level. I mean, there's some anecdotal stories I like to tell, but I'm not going to tell them now because, quite honestly, they're under federal investigation.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I've turned them over, but it's staggering to me what goes on. I mean, I'll give you an example. The Riverhead traffic circle. It's congestion, then the summertime, it's tough to get through it. The money, first it was $2 million before I got there, then it was $3 or $4, and now it's up to like $5 million. Now they're asking for another $250,000.
To do what?
To rebuild a traffic circle. My question was, well, how many stories is this building going to be? For $7 million, you're rebuilding a traffic circle. I mean, come on. I mean, it has to be able to be done for substantially less than that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. What concerns me most is the acceptance of the institutions, like, for instance, our failing school district. We accept, and we don't know any better. I'm a former teacher, so I have a little bit of an idea how a school goes, but it disappoints me to know that we can't put kids in our schools into college without taking remedial education courses.
Well, I'm fortunate in my district. We have great schools. You know, the Kings Park School District, the Comac School District, we do very well.
There are some good ones in the town of Huntington,
yes.
But I'm saying a general rule of thumb.
Yes, I mean, there's many social issues. There's the breakdown of the family, that people aren't going to school. That's like a social issue there, where, you know, people are failing because of outside influences, probably.
Who is the conscientious watchdog of taxpayer dollars in the county right now? I guess besides yourself.
Well, I mean, the Republican legislators, you know, they were in the minority, and they are in the minority for a long time, and I find it troubling to find out that, you know, they all voted to sell the Dennison building. I mean, it's like the equivalent of Pat Vecchio selling Town Hall. I mean, clearly government can work. When you look at Supervisor Vecchio, when you look at the town of Smithtown, he has zero tax increase this year. Actually, it's a small decrease in taxes. He
unheard of.
Has $11 million in debt. Like Brookhaven, I think, is somewhere around $800 million. I think Islip's at $400 million. You know, Babylon's at $350 million. Huntington's at $350 million. And Smithtown's at $11 million.
How did he do it?
He's very, very conservative, very conscientious, and he provides limited service where it needs to be done. And he goes to the union and says, listen, this is what our revenue stream is. We can afford to give you a cost of living increase. That's it. We can't give you more. And you'll see, I've been an advocate of this forever. I mean, I was a Suffolk County cop. They deserve a pay increase, but they got 3 times the cost of living. I mean, just yesterday in Newsday, the Social Security
So you appreciate as a
Administration-
cop, you have some
Exactly.
ability to connect with it.
And I understand it. Our senior citizens are getting a 0.3%, not even 1%, not even a 0.5% raise in Social Security. Yet this year the cops are getting a 3.5% increase. That's on $180,000. We're talking about less than a 0.5% on $17,000.
What's taking them so long? We were aware that the public, and I say we, I really shouldn't include myself and everybody, because a lot of people are just not aware, let's face it, but that the police were making a lot of extra money. It seemed like an extraordinary contract.
I don't blame the cops, and I don't blame the union. I blame the politicians who allowed this to happen. The county executive will say, oh, it's binding arbitration, binding arbitration. Yeah. Bull. The whole texture of binding arbitrations changed. There is now a tax cap that we have to be under. Suffolk County is using the entire tax cap and moving it to the police district, because the tax cap has to do with the entire budget. He's taking all of that and moving it to the police district and instituting red light cameras, which is the equivalent of a 60% general fund tax increase. In the past
60?
60. Just in the past, in 16 and 17, he has instituted fines that are equivalent of a 100% tax increase on your general fund tax. So he stands up there and says, oh, I didn't raise your general fund tax. But he put fees in that exceed the entire general fund, $50 million.
Can we go back to the red light camera for just a second? One of my pet peeves, I travel around a lot. I have a traveling business that I run, and I'm also a divorce mediator, but I don't do too much traveling, but I still travel with that too. I put on 30,000 miles a year. I keep running into places where I'm used to making a right-hand turn at a red light, and I don't know that the red light hasn't changed, or it's just ahead of it, or I'm just crossing over that barrier. I've put $1,000 worth of budgetary concerns now on every year for tickets. $1,000.
They do it under the guise
I've never
of
hit
safety.
anybody in my life.
And well, let me tell you, what you just said, I'll give you an example. I was in a store the other day buying an egg sandwich, and a gentleman comes up behind me, 86 years old. He knows I'm against the red light cameras. He got 8 red light camera tickets. He's 86 years old. He never got a ticket before in his life, never had been in an accident before in his life.
That's me.
And he goes to get a bagel in the morning, he looks, no one's coming, and he just doesn't stop the car all the way. Bang, $80. This is what we're doing to our senior citizens. Statistically, out of the
shouldn't be doing it to anybody, truth be told.
Exactly. There 46, there's 100 camera locations. At 46 of them, the accidents actually increased.
So that blows the need to have safety be a part of the argument.
In some intersections, it increased 150%.
Ay, ay, ay.
Now, at the first
why isn't
50,
it striking right away? I mean, that if you have that kind of evidence, why can't you?
They need the money.
They need the money.
They're
because
addicted
are they
to the
losing?
money.
Are they losing the tax base because of so many people leaving the area?
Of
the
course.
houses aren't being sold as quick. They're not getting as much tax dollars.
The sales tax revenue's down. People are fleeing here. People, you don't pay sales tax on your rent. You don't pay sales tax on your food, and that's what people are spending their money on.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to live here. Why would a company move here when it costs $400,000 for a house with $12,000 a year taxes, when they can go to South Carolina or North Carolina
and they are,
and spend $150,000 for a house and pay $1,200 worth of taxes?
And the reason why you stay someplace with your kids is that you want to keep connection with your family. The center of family used to be after you get the grandparents, and the grandparents would come over on the weekend. Now you don't know where the heck everybody's around anymore.
My parents live around the corner from me.
Yeah.
But that generationally, unfortunately, what I think is going to happen is their home prices are ultimately going to start to fall, because who can afford? There's no more high-paying jobs. The high-paying jobs are greatly disappearing. Forest Laboratories left. They had 850 people making more than $85,000 a year. Oof. Gone.
Where'd they
when
go?
you see these they went to New Jersey. Yeah. When you see the IDAs and these new jobs coming in, they're $30,000, $40,000 a year. They can't afford to live here.
I spoke to Lee Zeldin I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago from the 1st District, the Congressional District in Washington, and he had said that that's one of his biggest complaints, is that people are telling him we can't afford to live here, the taxation base is too high, all the things you just talked about. What do we have to look forward to as a Long Islander without the business opportunities, the business development, which you're on the committee of, am I right, one of those committees?
Yeah,
Growth, economic development?
We need massive political change. We need something, and I think the tipping point is coming. I mean, I was just at a budget hearing before we got here. The budget director for the legislature basically said, I don't know what we're going to do next year, because we've been stealing $140 million from the sewer stabilization fund. not only can we not take any next year, we have to start paying it back. They're talking about selling the jail because we need money.
To a private business?
No, we're going to sell it and lease it back, like the Dennison building. I will not be supporting any of that. They're going to put it now. You want to keep young people here, so what does the county executive do? Institutes a $300 fee for mortgages, not a mortgage tax, just another fee. Anytime there's any type of mortgage transaction, whether you take a mortgage out, whether you refinance, whether you change the name on it, any kind of transaction, they're going to hit you for $300 more. Now, what is that telling the young people who's going to live here?
Yeah, it tells them it's harder and harder to live
and
here.
Then you got
it's already harder.
But there is a solution. The solution is, you've got to take drastic changes. Drastic. Like, you got to come in and, like, when they froze the salaries in Nassau County, they saved $250 million for those 3 years. We need something like that done here.
Do you know about the cost of effective government by Steve Levy's
Sure.
group? Okay, I've been going to their meetings, and I believe he's got it down, but he's trying to, I guess, move the unions away from accepting the names of the amendments I can't think of right now, the tri-borough.
Yes, the binding arbitration and the tri-borough.
Right,
yes.
Those things, if he's successful in that, how is he going to be successful?
Binding arbitration is not what it used to be. That's why all these unions now are negotiating, because they see the 2% tax cap. So how can an arbitrator give you more than 2% if you got a tax cap? And the tax cap is also based upon the cost of living. I think this year, in the town of Smithtown, it was 0.68%. They could raise it. So it was less than 1% because based upon the cost of living. So, and I think in the county it was slightly more. So you can't, it goes by the county's ability to pay. If we have no ability to pay, how can we pay? So the unions are actually moving away from binding arbitration.
Where are they going to go to?
They're going to negotiate contracts and try to get the best they can. This is what they did. They got a 28% pay increase.
That's unbelievable.
An 8-year deal. How do you give an 8-year deal when you have no idea what the economy was going to do?
Well, to me, it looks like there's got to be. I can't understand it. How anybody could let anybody get away with that? Why aren't we stopping that? Now, I know you're trying to stop it.
I was the only one who didn't. I was a cop. I was the only one who didn't support the contract. In my defense, I wasn't there for these 3 police unions. The first 2 unions were finished before I was elected. They were already signed, 18 to 0. When I got on, the superior officers were there. And I asked a simple question. How much are we borrowing to pay pensions? $86 million. So we can't afford this, can we? No, I'm not voting for it. I cannot support it.
Why can't you get other people to join that?
It used to be.
I know it's Democratic.
The unions have a lot of money. Mike Fitzpatrick is the perfect example. He's for, what's called you pay in like a 401k type retirement plan.
Right.
And we need that because the days of getting a pension, the state offered pension,
those contracts are
we can't do it anymore.
No, they're unsustainable.
I have friends that are retiring with pensions of $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
Our chief of police is sitting in federal prison, Jimmy Burke, collecting like a $165,000 pension. That's ridiculous.
Of course it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And we mailed him a check for $434,000, his unused sick time.
How long is he going to be in jail?
I don't know. He hasn't been sentenced yet.
To me, it's an outrage. There's no other way to put it.
I was just at a class teaching a high school class today, and this sort of sums it up. And I'm not saying the kids are smart kids. I'll use another example. I asked them who the county executive was. 25 kids, no one knew. I asked them who the governor was. Nobody knew. People aren't engaged.
Yeah.
And this is what I always say. 86% of the registered voters in my district didn't vote for me. Think about that.
Holy
86% of the.
But I heard you had something like 70% of the.
And I ran by a landslide. You know why? 80% didn't vote at all.
Okay, so
such a small number of people are choosing their candidates.
If we were so fortunate enough to increase the 14% of the 86% that didn't vote, the 14% who came to vote, and increase it to 25%, what would that create for you?
I mean, it wouldn't create anything for me, but I think it would help other. You need to get the word out. You need to say, hey, listen, you voted for that contract. There's no way you should have done that. You're costing me and my kids money. They want to borrow $60 million to pay the SCAT pay, which means we're borrowing to pay your unused sick time and your unused vacation time. Think about this. This will basically sum it all up. If you were the county executive or you were running a company, your first day on the job, they told you, listen, we're $2 billion in debt and we have a $300 million budget shortfall. Oh, and that union over there doesn't have a contract. Would you give them a 28% pay increase?
It's not possible for
It's
me
not.
to think that way.
Exactly. It's beyond the realm of normal people's thinking.
So, as you say, normal. Let's see. Are we normal and they're not? I mean,
I think people, like I said, people don't know what's going on. I look at it this way. My residents hired me to keep an eye on what's going on in county government. And I take it very seriously, and I try to do the right thing for them.
Right.
Not for the police unions, not for my residents.
which is what you were elected by.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, other people feel that way, but they feel like, oh, they spent, the police unions and I think the teachers union spent over just around $300,000 against Mike Fitzpatrick. He spent I think it was $5,000. They spent $300,000 against him.
Couldn't move
to
him.
try to get rid of him. Couldn't move him.
Yeah.
Because he's right, and the people of Smithtown, our constituents, know it. And everywhere I go, every civic association, I tell it like it is.
It looks like a conspiracy to me. To
It's
have the other
collapsing, though.
side
It's starting to collapse because it's getting to the point. It's
starting
the
to
tipping point.
collapse. Should have collapsed years ago, but I got you.
Well, it's getting to the point
Yeah.
where we sold the Dennison building. We borrowed money for this. We borrowed money for that. We have no more money, and we can't. We've raised the fees, the equivalent of a 100% tax increase for the past 2 years, and we're still broke.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's probably
what
not
are we
enough
going
money.
to do?
What happened with the rapid bus transit? There was some.
I really think, I hate to say this, but I think the county executive is delusional. Because how are you going to get to the bus station? And you know what I was told by one of his representatives? Oh, we're going to build parking lots. So let me get this straight. I'm going to drive
In
my
my area,
car.
you have to drive a mile and a half to get to the
park
close
in
bus
the
station.
then get in a bus and go somewhere? Are you kidding me? I'm just going to drive my car there.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were,
Truth be
buses are
told, I've seen
designed.
the buses that are in my own. I live in Huntington North, and
Nobody on
all
them.
I see is
Empty buses.
right. You filled my
I-
you filled my blanket.
I have my phone. I take pictures of every every bus I see, and there's one or two people. Most of the times, no one in them. Now I'm all for public transportation, but apparently it hasn't been redesigned or looked at in like 25 years. So right now, I think they're looking to redo it. I mean, he wants rapid bus transit up and down
What
Nicholas
about
Road.
smaller vans with less?
Of course.
Less,
Uber. I mean, there was a
Yeah.
bus route out east. It was $82 or $88 per ride. That's what it came out to. So that's ridiculous. We could have. I did the math. We could have bought them all cars. It costs us $22,000 a year to move these people.
to move who?
There's one or two bus routes out east where they did an analysis. It costs
yeah.
$88 a ride. It's no logical sense.
Wow, there's so much money being wasted. You're in several committees, if I could just name a couple: Ways and Means, Health, Economic, Public Works, right? Now, the Ways
Yes.
and Means to me is always been, from my knowledge of going up to Albany all the time, a very important committee.
Yeah, it's
Can you
important.
get your input in there? Are you still a minority leader?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's settling lawsuits. And I'm not happy with the way the county attorney just, settles these lawsuits. And they call me, I'm the naive guy, I'm the new guy. Well, I'll give you an example. Like, a guy was in a bus accident or something, and he's injured, and he wants $3 million or $2 million. When I was a cop, I got a civilian complaint once because I supposedly beat this guy up and took his money, $30,000, and his cigarettes. Well, I happened to photograph all of it. And there's pictures of him holding the cigarettes, smiling with his arms around me. So they were going to the EDPs, the hearings, and the U.S. attorney I was being represented by the feds at the time because I was working with the FBI. And they showed him, the defense lawyer, the pictures, and the defense lawyer said, "Forget it, we dropped the case." I mean, it was
How
totally
did it
made
even
up.
get that far?
Because anybody can sue for anything.
Yeah.
But because I took pictures and I had
You had
them
evidence.
with me, and when I invoiced the money, I invoiced more money than they said they even had. It was it was a mess. But the moral of the story is, I always say, did you take pictures of this person who's allegedly injured? Did you follow them? They're in North Carolina. Well, did you hire a guy for $1,000 to go look? Maybe the guy's playing soccer. And then, even if he still has injuries, when you go to the lawyer and say, look, here's a video of him playing soccer. So instead of $3 million, they might say, okay, just give me $200,000. So you can spend $1,000 and save hundreds of thousands of dollars. The defense lawyers, once they see that the jury sees this person doing something, they're not going to be like, oh my God, no one's going to forgive this guy.
Could it be that a lot of these legislators don't have enough business experience to know that when you make an investment towards something, that there's something that's going to come back in some ratio or some
This is what I
some
hear.
amount?
I hear that when we pay these lawyers, we have to take their recommendation. And we have to approve these settlements. We've never not approved one. I mean, I vote no all the time, but it's basically a rubber stamp. It's almost like, why are you coming to us if you're just going to approve them?
Right.
I mean, we're the oversight committee. We're the ones that are supposed to look at it. We're not doing our job if we don't say, no, sorry, this one you have to do this, this, and this.
Are you standing alone on some of these?
A lot of times,
votes?
I mean, I always joke there's probably been 200 votes where it's been 17 to 1.
Jeez.
I mean, I won't bond anything less than $200,000. They will bond $25,000.
What does that mean for you in your future? Being that not only are you a minority, but you're not playing the game. You're not playing the game.
Well, people are starting to realize, like I was a big advocate of getting rid of Jimmy Burke. How could the chief of police be on the cover of Newsday, we're having sex with prostitutes, and the county executive stand by him? How does that happen? How do you have the chief of police, the guy the cops are supposed to look up to, on the cover of Newsday for having sex with prostitutes, and he comes out and says, I stand by him? Then he's on the cover of Newsday for being investigated for beating a guy up, and he stands by him. I mean, now when he gets arrested, all of a sudden, hey, maybe Trotta was right.
It's unbelievable.
Now, believe me, they're coming around, and they're starting to see the things that I've been saying are coming to fruition, and they're starting to say, you know something? We got to be more conservative.
Why don't you? Can't imagine that, but okay, I hope so. Why can't you record, like you recorded the event on camera? Record what you've said in some sort of. I'm making this up.
It's all recorded. Everything we say in front of the legislature is recorded.
So you can go back. My point is that when you go to the meeting the next time something like that even smells like it, looks like the same. Look, this is what we did this particular
Let me give you an
time.
example. What happened today? The Cubsog Beach Hut. It burned down a few years ago. They came before us $750,000 for renovation and rehabilitation. I said, okay, we'll build it. There's only 400 parking spots. It's like a beach hut on the beach. That was for rental of the trailers and $350,000 for the design of the new building. I went through the roof, and guess what? Today they decided they're going to rebuild it themselves. They're not going to do it as much. All of a sudden.
When they knew they could get it for free, or
no,
the
when they
money to be made
realized
out of
they
it?
had no money, and they can't afford to do this. Well, they're
starting
starting to realize they have no money.
I'm very happy to hear that. I hope it continues.
I mean, there's no money.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about this recent study by the LIA, which is the Long Island Association.
I happen to have
There's
it
a
right
study,
here.
which you have right there. And I was looking through it a little bit. Unfortunately, my copier didn't come out too well in print. It was hard to read. But the basic idea is that there's a lot of changes to the middle class, and Long Islanders consider themselves, in most cases, middle class.
It's shrinking because of what we talked about. People, why would you live here when you pay $12,000 taxes when you can pay $1,200 taxes? And more importantly, let's say a company makes $10 million a year, and they have to pay their employees $8 million a year here, but $4 million a year if they put their company in North Carolina. So if they put their company in North Carolina, there's a net gain of $3 million to the owners of that company.
Why wouldn't you consider it?
Of course you would consider it.
Right.
Of course. Why wouldn't you?
Well, there's a lot of factors involved in choosing to stay here. My biggest reason for staying here is this is where my people are.
Of course. And
my friends, my family, my circle, my business associates, they're all here.
I go fishing down at Nessacore River, or I take my boat out in there. I love it. It's fantastic. And I just say that I was out with a guy from the Long Island business the other day, and I said, this is why I live here. If I get out here 4 times a year fishing, this is why. But then you have
Even
to
if
ask
it's only
yourself,
4 times a year.
Exactly. The big thing is the beach. I'm 55 years old. I love to go to the ocean. I love to swim in the waves. I think I swim in the waves twice this year, maybe 3 times.
I didn't get there this year.
Yeah, it's exactly my point.
Yeah.
So when you look at it, the logistics of it, like if my kids were to move to, down south somewhere, I would go. Because that's, where I want to be. And there's no good paying jobs for them here, and a lot of them are leaving.
Companies are leaving too, which is a little bit harder for us to view or to even think optimistically as a Long Islander.
In Newsday, every month or so, they have Long Island valedictorians. Where are they 10 years later? I always look at that.
Oh, that'd be interesting, yeah. I didn't know.
Invariably, 9 of 10 or 10 of 10 are off Long Island. Now, this is our best and our brightest not living here 10 years afterwards.
Is it that, maybe I'm wrong, but I always see Long Island as really a haven for beauty and for opportunity, the beaches. How many people have an ocean so close? How many people
in North Carolina? A lot.
Well,
a lot.
Yeah, but you got to be on the coast.
Yes.
You got to travel a long way. We have it. We can almost take a cab ride.
My big joke is I can fish in 5 minutes on the North Shore or 15 minutes on the South Shore.
Yeah.
It's really a great, unique, unbelievable place to live. However, it's become unaffordable.
Yeah. Last minute in our program here today, before we sign off, I just want to see if there's anything hot on your radar or on your business now that you want to mention, other than the standard things we just talked about.
I'm still very upset about the state of the district attorney's office. I mean, these murders in Brentwood. In my mind, I was in the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force. One of my old partners there was a guy named John Oliva, a hardworking Spanish-speaking detective that really was on the inside of the MS-13 and really took a hold of it and arrested, 26 people and solved 12 murders. The fact that he was taken out by Burke and the district attorney's office, and now, actually arrested for some minimal little charge, is now he's being vindicated to show that what's going on here. These murders, are on Burke's blood, exactly.
Yeah.
And to some extent, the county executive who allowed him to stay there and allowed him to take people out of the FBI.
I want to thank you very much for today's wide open information. Thank you very much, Robert Trotta.
I appreciate it.
It was fun. Thank you. You've been watching Gray Matters, the program that brings you the wisdom, social changes, successes, and failures of the baby boomer generation. We look at hot-button political and social issues of the day, measuring them, and talk about the results we see now from that chronicled time. I'm honored to host this program, as the fate of America weighs heavily upon us right now.